Well, hello, all of my crafty friends. I am so glad to be back with you guys. I am going to work on a card today with you all, starting out with some of this Terra Slate paper, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of a kind of watercolor background using some of the aqua pigments from Brutus Monroe. And as you can see, I'm doing some blue, green, turquoisey teal type of colors, and of course I have to add in a little bit of purple because that's my favorite color. So I'm just going to sit here and play around with this and just create a background that I like playing around with these different inks. Now, at the beginning of this video, I'm going to kind of take you guys through some of what I'm doing. But as I start to put the card together, I'm going to do part one of Where in the Heck Have You Been, Kiona? Because I do want to kind of give you guys an update on what's been going on in my life and why I've been gone for such a long period of time. I know some of you guys kind of were keeping a track of me at the beginning of my what seemed to be a long, difficult end to last year and a very busy beginning to this year. But I did want to give all of you guys who are such loyal followers and wonderful people in my craft community a real inside scoop on kind of what's been going on for me. So as you can see right here, I'm just dropping all of the different colors, and I'll start adding more water to it. The thing that I like about this Terra Slate paper is that it does not really wrinkle or curl when you put lots and lots of ink and lots of water on it. Now, it does take a good bit of time to dry. I am pretty sure I allowed this to dry overnight when I initially did this, but I did like the fact that it allows me the time to kind of just play with it. As you can see, the inks are just kind of pulled on the top right now. It's not really soaking into the paper. I got this paper from Amazon, and this is like paper that you can use to create if you wanted to do like brochures or if you're making flyers. It's kind of got a plasticky feel to it, but it's also paper, and it dried very, very beautifully. If you're interested, just let me know in the comments and I will try to find the link to it. And as you can see in between, I am just kind of using my heat gun to dry some of it and also to move some of the liquid around on this paper. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to create a base layer here, and then I'm going to go back in and add some more color just so that I can get some more texture and dimension to this. Now, I did this card a good while ago. If I'm not mistaken, this card was likely done in February. I believe that this was the card that I made for my mother-in-law for her birthday. So it's been a while. I've had all of the wonderful intentions of coming back to creating content, and it just was a little delayed. So you guys can see I'm over in Design Space now. I'm starting out with a square, and I'm going to change the color of that so maybe you guys can see it a little bit better. And I'm going to change the actual background of my screen so that you can see this white paper better. And what I'm doing right now is just creating the layout for my card, and I'm doing this at 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 because this will be the very top mat of my card. You guys know that I enjoy working in 5 by 7 cards, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm looking up mandalas, and they have this beautiful butterfly mandala here in Design Space, as well as this Make-A-Wish sentiment. I'm going to bring both of those in, and now I am going to size this butterfly down, and I want it to pretty well take up about 2/3 of the card because I want it to really be the focal point for the front of this card. And then I'm going to size up my Make-A-Wish sentiment, and I'm just kind of giving myself a fitting here in Design Space to see what my sizing and the layout of my card is going to look like. Now, as you can see, there are multiple layers with the Make-A-Wish as well as with the butterfly. Now, I'm going over to my layers panel and I'm just changing up some of the colors because I want these to match. So I am making the Make-A-Wish the same color as one of the layers of the butterfly and the outline the same as another one. Now you see I've duplicated that top layer of Make-A-Wish, and I have duplicated that multiple times because this is going to be the number of times I'm going to cut that out, stack it together so that I can create a lot of dimension for the front of this card. This card is going to be very dimensional. There are lots of layers that are going to go with this card, and it is going to be absolutely gorgeous. And you guys know I absolutely love my butterflies. So I'm also creating an extra layer, and this one I'm going to do at 6.5 by 4.5. And this is going to be one of my matte layers to go behind my panel for the inside and the outside of the card. And then I'm going to do a third layer, and this is going to be 6.75 by 4.75. And this is going to be my final layer at the back of my card. So I have the actual card matte, and then I have 2 matte pieces to go behind it. You guys know I like my thick and sturdy cards that are really durable and substantial. That has not changed in the time that I have been away, I promise. So I'm going to save this. If you guys like this file, just let me know and I can provide this to you in the Craft Therapy group over on Facebook in the files section if this is something that you guys would like. So you guys can see that I have everything all together, and I did a fit on my mats just to kind of make sure that I have all the colors the way that I want them to be. And I'm changing the color of that front mat because I did not want it on the same matte as the Make-A-Wish pieces. Now I am going back in and I'm using my text feature to type out my sentiment. I'm going to scale it down a little bit, and then I'm going to go to my fonts and click on filter, and I'm looking for a writing font. So now I'm going to go over here and I am going to look through these fonts until I find a writing font that I enjoy. So once I find the font that I want, then I will go ahead and finish sizing that down. One of the best things that Cricut has done is given us the kerning feature. So now I don't have to do all of the work to get my letters the way that I want it. And I'm going to do a center alignment to those, and then I can just go and attach it all together once I'm done. Now, one final thing that I want to do on the inside of my card is I am trying to find some image that I might like to have drawn on the inside. Now, I want to take this little miracle part out because the only thing I want is the actual butterfly. So I'm going to my contour and I'm just trying to get rid of all of the pieces to the little miracle. And it's just going to leave me with the butterfly that is a drawn image. That is going to allow me the ability to attach that butterfly to the card along with the writing and have the Cricut draw that inside of the card for me. This is one of my favorite things to do. I think it is just like the most, the best way to kind of tie your card all together. So having a little piece of the inside going to the outside of the card, I just think it kind of ties everything all together. Now, this is back in the time when Cricut was doing one of those funny things where when you attach things to your card, it was not always showing. So I'm going in and unattaching and reattaching to try to get it all to show together. So here you guys go. I used the wavy blade to cut that out, and that's the inside of the card, and this is that TerraSlate paper, and that is what it looked like after I allowed the Cricut to cut that out for the front panel of our card. So as you can see, I'm kind of starting to work on all the pieces of our card, and now I am going to go into part 1 of Kiona, where have you been? So you guys know that I was really active last year until about August, September time frame. And at the end of August, I received a call that my grandmother had passed away. My grandmother had recently celebrated her 85th birthday, and on her birthday, everyone had been very, very cautious with her. The individuals who were helping to care for her, who were my father and two of my aunts, were very careful, ensuring that they were masked up, taking tests, and, just trying to do everything that they could to ensure that she was safe. However, on her birthday, she had a drive-through birthday party. So everyone just kind of came by honking and, wishing all of the well wishes. And we had recently had a new addition to our family that she had not been able to meet yet. And my grandmother asked to meet the new addition to the family, and unbeknownst to everyone, the infant had contracted COVID from his other grandmother. And this is how my grandmother contracted it. She gained a cough, and my aunts took her to the hospital to get her checked out, and they did all the testing and stated that she was likely at the tail end of it, and they allowed her to go home because all of her testing had come back normally. So from that point, my aunts, my father, and one of my cousins took shifts just to be with her around the clock, and my father actually lived in the home so that he could be with my grandmother at night. And so a couple days went by, and the cough was still kind of lingering. They had gotten some cough syrup and things like that. And then Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, she woke up and called for my father and said that she had to use the restroom. And my father got up and helped her to the restroom and got her back in the bed. And she requested a cup of water, and he walked out of the room to get her a cup of water. And when he returned, she had passed away. So needless to say, that was a huge and unexpected thing for us. And so this being in the midst of COVID and me being in northern New York and my family being in South Carolina, there were a lot of things that we had to go through in order to go home and be with my family. And I scheduled to go home for a week. And then on the day that I buried my grandmother, my brother had a mental health crisis in which he began driving his vehicle from the state of Maryland coming toward South Carolina. And in the midst of that, he discarded much of his belongings, his phone and keys and wallet and things along the interstate, and continued to drive until his vehicle ran out of gas, and he was not very cognizant of who or where he was. And there were some individuals who stopped because they saw him with very little clothing on and on the side of the road. And he was able to remember my husband's telephone number, and the individuals called my husband to say that they didn't really know what was going on. And so we had just gotten done with the funeral, and my husband was still in New York, so he contacted me to tell me that my brother was somewhere in the state of North Carolina with some unknown individuals, and there was something wrong. So from the place that I was in South Carolina, my brother was about 3 hours away from me. So I immediately got on the road to try to get to him. And the individuals were attempting to stay with him until I got to him, with the idea that I would be able to drive him back to Columbia in South Carolina. And if hospitalization was needed, at least he would be near family. However, his behaviors became a little erratic and began to scare the people who were with him. So they ended up having to call the police to have him escorted to the hospital. So I ended up that night trying to get to the hospital to him. And once I got to the hospital, I was not able to see him because he had not only had a mental health crisis, but he had tested positive for COVID. So they had him on a COVID unit. Because this situation occurred, I could not leave South Carolina to come back home without him. And so we got an emergency flight for my husband to then come from New York to South Carolina with us. And we drove back and forth from South Carolina to North Carolina to try to find his vehicle, to have it towed, to have new keys made, to take care of him, to determine what medically was going to be required for him. And to wait until he was ready to be released or transferred to a long-term facility. He was allowed to come home and be discharged to us, which meant we needed to go back to the state of Maryland, get things for him, and then travel back to New York. So this was in total about a 2.5 week ordeal. We came back to New York in September and attempted to help my brother stabilize further. And approximately a month later, my father had a stroke and was hospitalized. And once he was hospitalized, he appeared to be doing okay, but then he started having additional strokes of his brain, and there was a lot of concern of whether he would recover, and if he did recover, what his quality of life would look like. And so that took an abundance of my time talking to medical professionals and having to make those types of decisions. And on the 28th of October, my father passed away. So that meant that I needed to return to South Carolina again in order to make funeral arrangements for my father, clear the home of him and my mother, because my mother passed away several years ago as well, very unexpectedly. And so I went home and did all of those things with the help of my family and especially my husband. And we were able to get a lot of the things taken care of that needed to be taken care of in a short period of time. And were able to do funeral services for my father and get the home taken care of, as well as other, just business ordeals that have to be taken care of when you lose a parent. And so I came back home. It was mid-November, and so there was an attempt to make the holidays as normal as possible with COVID going on, not having family around, and having these very significant situations occurring in our family in such a short period of time. And I think at that point I was really running on adrenaline and was a little shocked and numb at that point in time. And I think that as the holidays came around and the dust settled, it began to weigh on me, and there was a very difficult point of trying to have some level of normalcy. So that is kind of part one of kind of Kiona, where have you been? And that was a lot. I have to say that being a mental health professional does not make you immune to the things that go on in life. However, I always tell people the difference between those who do and don't have crises in their life are the ways that we cope. And coping for me really meant having to decrease anything that could cause any heightened emotions, which meant a lot of social media and just interacting outside of my safe space, my home. So that is a really big part of the reason that you guys haven't seen me, because I had to really detach from all social media. I turned off all notifications. I didn't have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube on my phone until recently, because part of coping for me was really taking the time to process, reflect, and trying to keep myself busy in the things that I felt were beneficial. And although social media is an outlet, sometimes there was just so much going on with COVID and the election, and I just could not turn on anything without seeing it. So I just had to really remove myself from it. And that was my primary coping skill to get through a lot of what I had going on, and just allowing myself to feel and to be, and to just not feel any type of remorse about what I was doing in an effort to take care of myself. So that's kind of part one, and that is the most doom and gloom of what I've had going on over the last year, if that was not enough. So when I see you guys again next time, I will kind of bring you into the start of 2021 and where that has taken me. So you guys, hopefully, although I've been talking about some not so pleasant things, I hope that the card that I am making is putting a little sparkle in your eye and a small smile on your face, because I thought that this card came out super shimmery and very, very beautiful. So you can see that I am ending with doing my dry fit of my sentiment on the front and the large butterfly. And I think that that blue water paint layer behind it with the shimmer and the little amount of glitter that I sprinkled throughout really just set this card up to be a very, very beautiful piece. And this card did go to my mother-in-law for her birthday, which was in February. And I love butterflies and she loves the water. And so I just felt like it made a perfect pairing. Although I think that the background could be the sky or the water. I don't necessarily think a butterfly would be in water, but hey, it's our thing. We can do whatever we want, right? And I love the layers to this butterfly mandala. And I think that the pairing with the drawn butterfly just goes wonderfully. I did decide on a colored card base that is a 100-pound Recollections card base that I am using to make this card with. Of course, as usual, my cards are 5x7, and I'm using my art glitter glue from May Made It to glue everything down. And I gave myself just a small 1/8 of an inch border around the card base on the inside and the outside. This card is filled with shimmer and shine and such a pretty set of papers. I used all types of glitter papers and shimmer papers and vellum and everything that I could find that just would give a little bit of sparkle, because I just felt like that would put a smile on anyone's face. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I'm going to talk to you guys again really soon. Bye.